One of the main design principles of Phase Plant is that its structural layout is always the same and all on one page, so you can easily find what you need. There's a section for generators, a section for modulators, and a section for effects. We'll get to each of these in detail in a later video. But the stuff that's always there is as follows. First, the logo and version number. Here's where if you see a red dot, it's time to update to a newer version. Just click to open the installer. Then there's a button to browse presets, a couple of arrows to click up and down through the list of presets, and a button to save a preset as a favourite. The name, author name, and description of a preset, and here's where you can type in your own information if you're working on a patch and want to save it as a new preset to the user folder or some other location. And if you want to initialize, to start again from a blank canvas, click New. Click Undo if you make a mistake, and Redo if you decide it was a great move after all. Here's a game you can play if you need a break. And I'm back. And here's some about info and credits and stuff. The next row down has the mod wheel and macros. These are controls which can be assigned to any parameter or combination of parameters in your patch to give high-level control over many things at once and enable you to affect them quickly with automation in your DAW or with physical controls on your MIDI keyboard, for example. You can rename the macros anything you like to organize your patches. Next, let's look at the controls for the 3 effects lanes. You can bypass, mute, or solo each lane, and if you click on Poly, every effect in that lane and the ones preceding it becomes polyphonic. That is to say that each voice in your patch, every new overlapping note you play, goes through its own independent instance of the effect, rather than just summing the audio stream and passing it all through an effect at once. For some effects this makes no difference. Reverb and delay, for example, sound the same in mono as in poly. But things like filters and distortions can sound very different. Bear in mind that a lot of polyphonic effects can make the patch heavy in terms of CPU load, so use this feature wisely. At the bottom of each lane you've got a gain control, a dry-wet mix for the processing in that lane, and some options for where to send the audio to next. To the left we have control of the range of your pitch wheel, master pitch, and polyphony, the maximum number of concurrent voices allowed in the patch. If we take it down to 1, the patch becomes monophonic, meaning playing a new note cancels any previous note you might still have held down. Now you have a choice of whether each note should re-trigger your oscillators and envelopes, or if a string of smoothly played overlapping notes should be treated as a single legato phrase. Then there's global unison, which creates copies of the whole generator stack and spreads them out in space and pitch according to a variety of different rules, from chorus-like close effects to different chords. We can change the number of voices, the range of the detuning, the stereo spread of the voices, the volume blend of the voices from least to most detuned, and finally the bias or spacing of the inner detuned voices, from an even spacing in the middle to a wide spacing on the left or a narrow one when turned to the right. It's easiest to see this in the generator section here, but global unison does this to all the generators at once. And far left here we have glide, applying a lag to the changing note pitches as you play, either all the time or just when notes are overlapping in a legato line. Playing staccato notes with gaps in between them will skip the glide. Nearly there. Master output gain control. Double click on anything to reset it to its default value, by the way. A small readout of the latency induced by your patch. This is a space for tooltips, so hover over anything and it will show you all the stuff I've been saying. Then there's the little keyboard, so you can either play notes directly on screen with your mouse, or see the notes being played in by live or pre-recorded MIDI. There's also a pitch wheel control here. And finally, the resize grippy corner. Click and hold here and you can make Phase Plant larger or smaller, wider or taller. It's versatile to your individual needs, but reliably the same, no matter what you do. And that's all the fixed layout stuff. Next, we'll move on to the generators.